Welcome to the podcast designed to fuel your success in selling technology solutions. I'm your host, Josh Lopresto, SVP of Sales Engineering at Telarus, and this is Next Level Biz Tech. Hey everybody, welcome back. It wouldn't be a day in technology if we're not talking about AI. And today we're talking about AI at the helm, specifically about SOC Operations, Security Operations Center, and how that all works. And so today on with us, we have the amazing Sumera Riaz, who is Senior Director of Security at Bluewave. Sumera, welcome on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Sumera, we want to hear your story. How did you get into this field? Have you always been security? Windy path, linear path? Any crazy stories you have? We'll hear it all.
Definitely crazy. So my studies, my undergrad early on in my life, they were in counseling. I wanted to be a counselor. And after doing an internship for a couple of months, I realized, I was sitting in a dim lit room with heart-wrenching stories, and I realized this is not my cup of tea. I don't see a future in this. So at that time, my 20-some-year-old self decided I'm going to need to pick a different path here, a career path. I mean, after spending about, 100 grand in college, it was better late than never.
Mm-hmm.
So I started thinking of what areas, titillate me. Where would I want to go? So I thought of food industry, and I'm like, nope, can't cook. That's not going to work. What's next? And I thought, well, I played bass. I was in a band in college. I sang and played bass. I thought I could start a band. I could take this show on the road. And I thought my mom and my dad were like, no, that's not you. That's not going to happen. Not in our family. So then I thought, okay, IT, I'll just deal with computers. I don't have to worry about anything else. It's just computers. No heart-wrenching stories, no drama, just computers. And I like the sound of that. So I got my CCNA and then went into network. And it was, 2 years of just really interesting and, a lot of knowledge came through that time. I started working closely with my security counterparts, and that's when I realized that's what I want to do, because their discipline and their heart behind what they did, I absolutely loved it, and my personality actually aligned more with that than anything else I've seen. So I started, deep diving into more security projects that my boss at the time was giving me. I entered the world of large MSPs, managed service providers, Capgemini being, one of the top 3 in the Gartner quadrant. Worked with them for quite some time. I was stationed in Europe for about a decade, and I was global head of CIS, Cloud Infrastructure and Security, and had accounts, honored to have accounts with big pharma, oil and gas clients, DoD, and fintech. I led a team of 136 individuals, wonderful people, 2 SOC centers, one in Inverness, Scotland, one in Chennai, India. My GRC team was based in Amsterdam. We did a lot of good together. And then I moved stateside and been a CISO for the last 5.5 years for a couple of companies based in the United States. So, and then joined Bluewave in 2023 of last year, December 2023. I feel like I've just come full circle from going from counseling to right back to providing my clients the best solutions that this market has to offer.
I love that. It's one of the most impressive backgrounds I've ever heard. I think you've got some tremendous experience because you've seen it from so many different angles. And I would argue that the counseling is a really good way to start off, because I mean, what are we doing at the end of the day when these customers have to make some very, very impactful decisions, right? We got to factor in emotions and reality and biases and damage and all of these things into it. So I love that background. I think it's going to serve well.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
So tell us just a little bit about now kind of your role at Bluewave, kind of how you go to market, and kind of some of the focuses there.
Certainly. So I absolutely love working for Bluewave. First off, when I first joined, I would tell my peers, "Why did it take you guys this long to find me? Where have you been all my life?" It has been an absolute pleasure to work for a company like this. Great leadership, great people. Bluewave is a nationwide technology advisor and sourcing expert. And we have over 7,000 clients. We specialize in working with IT leaders to translate their business requirements into goals, solutions that manage vendor selection. We pride on choosing the right technology solution for the client. And that's where we shine.
I love
Yeah.
it. Love it. Good. Yeah, I'm glad they found you. I think it's going to work out okay.
I think so.
Walk us through, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, any great lesson you've learned, either, something you've learned the hard way or maybe something you've learned from a mentor throughout.
Sure. One of the greatest things I've learned actually is learning to embrace change. Change is inevitable. Our industry changes from one day to the next. The world changes in the blink of an eye. And in cybersecurity, you have to be willing to embrace change. That's one of the greatest lessons I've learned. One of the hardest ones I've learned, but it's served me well professionally and personally, and because life is unpredictable. And one of my great mentors used to say, which goes right along with changes, ego is not your amigo. And I love that. It's like you can't, not everybody knows everything, especially us cybersecurity professionals. At times we think we know everything. And there's always something out there that we can learn, that we can grow.
And I like the change is inevitable thing because I think there's a lot of people that struggle with that.
Mhm.
And when you move the cheese of, hey, it used to be this way, now it's this way.
Yes.
I think if you look at kind of the customers, right, and organizations are growing, and you've got frustrated customers, you've got, but I liked we use this tool, or I liked when we did it this way, and yeah, but that way maybe wasn't working. And I think the more you can roll with change and adapt, you will be wildly successful in anything you do. So great call out just to raise that self awareness of change is inevitable.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. It's hard though. It's not easy.
No, 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 it's not, because sometimes you're not
Yeah.
going to like that change, but that's life, man. Sometimes you can only worry about the things that you can control, and the other things, right? It is what it is, and it's just going to happen. And figure out a way to turn lemons into lemonade, and you'll be a lot happier off.
That's right.
All right, so we better get into AI and SOC operations here, right? So we see this broadening AI productizing. Maybe saw it started. Maybe it was in security. Maybe it was in CX. Maybe it's in cloud. But I think if you look back at the idea of AI in security, well, you might think, okay, well, we've been doing ML and anomaly detection for a little while, and maybe we've graduated from this idea of viruses and pattern matching and signature based things. And now here we are, right, in this idea of SOC and operations and alerts and all this good stuff. So, from your perspective, what do you think that generative AI does to SOC operations, given kind of where we are right now?
I think it's I think it enhances everything that we've built up to this point. So there's two elements technically to a SOC. You've got one that is your monitoring, detection, response side, and then you've got threat intel is the second element of it. In your monitoring, detection, and response, you see predictive AI, you see machine learning, because that's where you detect an anomaly and you go from, you know, identifying it to responding to it. That time 10 years ago was 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because you had people, looking through logs, trying to find out, okay, is this a malicious IP? What is this? And all that. Fast forward 7 to 10 years, we've got AI, we've got machine learning, which has taken that 20 minutes down to average of 8 minutes in the industry today, from identifying a problem and then responding to it. Not the resolution piece, mind you, but just identification to response, which I think it's brilliant. It makes us faster. It makes us, you know, um, get to the problem right away instead of tomorrow or day after or months later. So that's been a beautiful evolution in our world. For generative AI, there's a big space for generative AI today in threat intel, because threat intelligence comes from all the three-letter agencies, obviously. And your businesses all over the world, what they're experiencing, that's where you're drawing this intelligence from. You're seeing what's going on in the dark web. You see, your somebody in your industry got ransomed, what can you glean from it? What, incoming threats? And you take all that, and in order for a person, a human being, to process all this information and then apply it back to your customer, to your company, that's a lot for one person. So Gen AI has really, really helped SOC analysts and security professional capture that threat intel in lifetime and apply it right into your SIM to be able to bring an advanced solutions, advanced practice that is presented into your SOC. So I really like where this is, how we have evolved.
It's almost like the sim before the sim, right? Kind of
Yeah,
a little
it
bit.
is.
Just helping us
It
be a little
is.
more efficient in where everybody spends their time and to do it faster. It sounds like
Yes, definitely.
good. Love that.
Definitely.
Uh, okay, so let's talk about as you're out there having customer discussions. We like to understand, and I think the partners like to understand what are the problems that the customers are having. So, walk me through maybe key problems customers, prospective customers are saying as you're in this discussion, and we're talking security, we're talking SOC.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure as our partners and our suppliers would know, CISOs are not the easiest people to talk to. They're not. They're very skeptic, paranoid, and rightly so. And they're not open to demos and conversations. And I've been there, and I wasn't either. I was a stinker. I made a stinker of a client. So I've been there. What I'm hearing in my conversations now is, there's a lot of reaction instead of proactive measures in place. There's not a lot of thought leadership that goes into a security posture in a company today. Just because if you want to keep your SOC in house, you're firefighting every single day. You don't have time to step back and say, what is a good holistic solution I can put in place, or what is my North Star here that I'm shooting for as I create my security practice? There's no time for that, because it's a constant barrage of problems that come at you. So the reactive is a huge complaint I see from my clients. Another is alert fatigue. Tools just sending you just a bombardment of alerts coming in, and not enough staff to even filter through, like, what's a false positive, what's real, what should I act on, and what can wait till tomorrow. That type of an understanding and tuning of tools, it's lacking in our companies today. Lack of internal resources that are versed in advanced threat intel, that's a huge gap. You have lean IT teams that are already overworked, and they don't have time to go and do this research and apply it back into their lives, practically into their companies. So these are real world problems that we're facing today. And another one, a huge one, as recently there's been articles about this too, is the security staff is burnt out. They are, they
Yeah.
just their days, they go continue working without seeing daylight. So it's a huge you know it's a huge problem that the companies are facing today, that I think we can help solve some of that.
So you bring up some great points in there. So if you think about if a partner's walking in and having facing a an intimidating CISO, and they know that these are some of the things that these CISOs are struggling with, what's the best? I always default to probing questions, probing questions, probing questions, but what's the right way to get that CISO's attention if you've got this prospect out there, knowing that these are some of the things that they're facing with? Do we just hit them head on with the questions of, hey, we see that a lot of CISOs and a lot of companies are facing, alert fatigue and tools sprawl and stuff like that. Is that anything that you're going through, or is that the right way to approach it, or would you approach somebody like that differently?
You could do it that way. The way I usually do it is with an understanding that every company has its own DNA. No two companies are the same, because no people are the same, and people make the companies. So the way I approach the conversation is, I have a background, I do some research on the company. I try to figure out where they are just in the temperament, in their culture. And then when I speak to a CISO, those are some of the questions I would ask. Or I would say, how are you doing? Just how are you managing Especially in the like automotive industry, perfect example. If I'm talking to somebody in the auto dealership with the CDK global ransomware that's currently hit the industry, and if I'm talking to a CISO from an automotive dealership, I would say, how are you doing? How are you guys faring? Do you need any help? Can I do anything? We have a lot of contacts in the supplier world, in this industry. What can I do to help you? And I think that goes so much farther than just trying to sell them on something. It's meeting them where they're at today. That's
Well,
what gets us in the door.
awesome. Awesome. All right, let's talk about an example here. So maybe walk me through an example customer that you came into. What was the tech stack? What was the business problem, right? And then kind of how do you project that looking after?
Sure. So I had a client in the manufacturing industry. His company's been around now. It's been around for a couple of decades. They hired a great security and IT team, about 7 people. And these guys, they brought technology on in-house because they liked the technology. It was the next shiny object and they wanted to use it. And then a few years later, they left. New people came in. They bought more technology with similar functionality, but they bought technology that they liked. So over 10 years of time, they are stacked with technology that basically does the same thing, but the way they're utilizing it is not an optimal way to utilize it. So when we started having conversations with his clients, and we brought in a roadmap, a journey, and showed them what a holistic picture would look like if they were to outsource their SOC. And they were adamant. They're like, no, we've got it covered. We've got a lot of tools and we're good. And, unfortunately, they went through a cyber attack a few months after that. And it was a reality moment, a reality check, in their lives, in their minds. And they reached out to us right after and said, how can you help us? So we came in, we helped bring partners in that would help them get from go from death to life, basically, remediate faster, get them back online. And I got a call actually a couple of weeks ago from the CISO, and he calls and he's like, thank you. And I'm like, you're welcome. That's what we do, is we're here for. He goes, no, you don't understand. I'm driving home right now and it's light outside. I have not, yeah. He's like, I have not, this has not happened in the last 5 years. So by outsourcing their SOC, by outsourcing some of these services, they were able to, they're able to have a work-life balance again. Plus they're getting world-class SOC services that with unified technology that wasn't there before. And they're spending half the money that they were before. So everyone's happy in this picture. And, I'm so glad we were able to help them out.
Cool. Good example. All right, let's talk about the productization of AI. So you've got, we did a previous episode where we talked about kind of the flurry and the money being sunk into Silicon Valley and Y Combinator, and where some of these companies are already finding product market fit, and they're going for Series A, and so we're waiting for this flurry of OEMs and new things that come into alignment with our vendors, new vendors, lots of stuff that's going to happen. So as that happens over time, what's the most effective way for these vendors and their tech stack to productize and really helping people like you and I position that to end customers?
Sure. I can speak to it from a security perspective, obviously. And I think as security professionals, it is our responsibility to educate our clients, because we want to have informed consumers that bring in AI into their company. So what I've been asking my suppliers that I work closely with is, would you be interested in productizing an AI workshop or an AI readiness assessment, AI readiness workshop? This is, this is what good looks like, Mr. Company, and this is where you are today. And let us help you bridge this gap so you can deploy ChatGPTs and Microsoft Copilot in your environment, which would include data classification, data security, And at the end of the day, it's going to equip the C-suite, it's going to equip the board members, it's going to equip the employees to be an informed consumer. And I believe that it would be very complementary to ChatGPTs and Copilot.
Love it. Yeah, these seems like no matter what we do, Copilot and ChatGPT aren't going anywhere. So we've got to
No.
pay really close attention to them. We got to play with these tools, but most importantly, right? Your brain certainly goes to, okay, let's back up a couple steps. We can't do this until we can classify the data. Right? Are you thinking through that? And I think people are just seeing all these things, they're playing with it, and they're being told, hey, we got to implement this now. Just like the story of cloud, 5, 10, 15, however many years ago people made their journey into cloud. Hey, we got to get here. Why are we not here yet? And then
Mhm.
we're all, we're left going to figure it out. So it just seems like
Mhm.
2.0 of that all over again.
It does, but it's a little, I think it's a little bit more dangerous though, because
Agreed.
if you've got predictive AI and ML, that's great. But if you're playing with Gen AI and you don't know what you're doing, you're putting a lot of people and your company at risk.
Yeah.
So, my advice and my counsel to my clients is know your product before you go. ChatGPT is great if it's used right. If
Yeah.
Microsoft Copilot is great if you use it appropriately and proportionately.
Yeah.
I think that's the key there. It's great to use insights that are going to drive your business, that are going to give you growth. You're going to, hit your financial marks, getting insights from the world through Gen AI. That's great. But make sure your crown jewels, your data that you don't want out there is secure and firewalled off from data that can you utilize for Gen AI.
Great point. Great point. And I don't think people are thinking through that. So good call out. Okay, so final couple questions here. So your advice for partners, right? Let's say I'm a partner, I'm listening, I'm excited, I want to dive deeper, but I want to maybe beef up some foundational knowledge. What's your advice for me?
My advice, honestly, it's not technical because you're technical, right? Our partners are very technical people. We're in a we're in a very fast moving emerging technology. We grasp it, we capture it, then we apply it, and then we move forward world. But my advice is more personal and practical. Is find your watering hole. Find always be learning. Learn from your team, learn from your peers, reach across the aisle, learn from your competition. One of the greatest things we did at Capgemini is we created a center of excellence where we reached across to our competition and we invited them into the center of excellence. This was quite a few years ago, and we came up with the term next gen in the center of excellence, and Gartner a year later coined it, and now it's used worldwide. But that technology, that ML, that predictive AI that went into next gen was birthed out of this group that wasn't just Capgemini. It was a compilation of us and our partners and others that created this beautiful way of working that got us to where we are today. And it's a great synergy when you can do that. And so my advice is always be learning. And cybersecurity, it's not, to people who are in security, it's not a job, it's our passion. It's what we do for companies, for people. That's why we're here today, is to protect these companies, to find better ways to do what we do today, so these companies can have a stronger security posture. So end of the day, cybersecurity was created to combat cyber warfare. That's why we're here today. And it's a fight, and you can't win it alone. You don't want to be a scarecrow in the middle of a field with thousands of crows coming at you. Nobody wants to be that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's true.
lean on each other, learn from each other. That would be my advice.
All right. So as we wrap this up and try to do something really easy, which is just predict the future. So
Hey.
we're always talking. We're always talking in talent shortage. We've run previous episodes on how one would build a SOC and how costly that would be as an end customer. So if we think about, the thought on this track is about how AI is going to transform SOC. What's your final consensus on where we see AI, and where do we see, what innovations are we kind of looking forward to with regard to SOC and security and ops and things like that over the next couple of years?
Sure. I think the companies are starting to realize that like you said, the in-house SOC plus overworked resources who are constantly firefighting does not equal an anti-fragile system of systems, does not equal an optimal SOC. So I'm seeing an increase in outsourcing of managed services, managed security services. It's as an industry, we've played in the defensive zone for so long and become good at it, at least until the next breach happens. And then we adapt and learn, and then we get better. I'd love to see innovation around proactive strategy. That's, that would be my personal ask to the suppliers out there. I'd love to see us play in that area. I'd love to see us use, you and I have talked about this before. I'd love to see us use quantum mechanics to create encryption keys that can't be broken. And I know I'm reaching for the moon, but that's how we get places, right? We create a vision and we go for it. So I'd love to see us play in this area.
Good. Love it. What a time to be innovating, AI and all the money that's being pumped into this space. It's going to be fascinating to see when we sit down and do this chat again in another year or two or whatever, what it brings us to. So good stuff. All right, Sumera, that wraps us up. Thanks so much for coming on today. Covered a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, everybody. That wraps us up. As always, my kind and gentle reminder, wherever you're listening, Spotify, Apple Music, go subscribe. And two, if there's other things that you want to see on this, drop comments in there. We get those. We look at those. We want to build content that helps you out kind of as you go forward with this. So again, thanks for listening. And that wraps us up for today. I'm your host, Josh Lopresto, SVP of Sales Engineering, Sumera Riaz, Senior Director of Security. And we're talking AI at the helm, transforming SOC. Till next time.
Next Level BizTech has been a production of Telarus Studio 19. Please visit Telarus.com for more information.